There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in war, but it's good to go and take a look back at some of the times where you did things right, some of the times that you can feel proud about. So today I'm going to share some of them from Iraq, Syria, Ukraine. The first one I want to mention is being accepted into the unit in Ukraine at the start of the war. When I was accepted into the unit where I did the majority of my missions at the beginning of the war, the soldier in there that invited me over, I was a Marine in the same unit as him back in the day. And he knew my story. He had watched my YouTube. He knew I went to Syria. He knew my experiences in the Marines, obviously, how I had gotten out early. But he still trusted me enough to go and bring me over to the team because of my experience in different war zones since the Marine Corps. This unit, who was top notch, they had the best fighters in the world, people who had been in the service for 20 years in different capacities, special forces, foreign volunteering, everything. They trusted me. That was a very proud moment for me, knowing that I could contribute to them and they knew that I could. The next one was in Shengal, not giving in to fear. Shengal, as you guys know from my videos, it was a total mind. We were being surrounded by 3 different armies. We had constant drone surveillance. It was freaky. We were living in these scary tunnels with rats and spiders and all sorts of different threats. Because of this, half of our platoon, the Kurds and internationals, tried to run away at one point. I was not one of them. I stayed there 13 months, which was 5 months extra beyond my contract length, waiting there patiently, doing my job, and I never tried to run away. I always stood my ground. I ended up getting ranked up to a squad leader. That was a proud moment for me, knowing that I was trustworthy. They knew that I meant business and that my morale wasn't going to falter. I was loving every bit of it, and I did my best, knowing that everybody's different, but for myself, the limits that a lot of people couldn't handle, I was able to handle. That was cool. Being a point man in Ukraine. In Ukraine, a lot of the missions, especially at the start of the war, I was the point man, the person in front. And these were people, again, who trusted me. They had a lot of experience, but they knew that I knew about mines. I knew about IEDs, and I knew how to be a point man, how to camouflage myself. So they put me as the point man. To be a point man, you have to be trusted with knowing what routes are a good route to take, knowing where the mines are at, and how to have a good eye in order to spot those things, and knowing when an ambush is going to happen. And during this entire time, we didn't have any casualties. Not only because of me, I'm a small part in this. I'm just a soldier. But to be given that opportunity to be the point man and the many different recon missions we did was a blessing. It was a really cool thing for me. The next one comes from Syria, when I became a machine gunner. This was my first really proud moment in war when I became the PKM gunner, because I was a small dude. I had lost a lot of weight in Syria. We went through starvation training. I don't know why. I think it was because they didn't have logistics, but they just called it starvation training. But despite me losing a lot of weight and being small, I wanted to be the machine gunner because I knew that was the most effective weapon on the battlefield at that time. And I remember the first time I picked up the PKM, we were learning how to disassemble and assemble it, and I was one of the slowest dudes. So afterwards, the next week afterwards, I took the time alone in the armory to go and disassemble and assemble until I got it down to a minute. Below a minute, I could disassemble and assemble this thing. I knew everything about the PKM. I was doing drills with my team, spreading the knowledge I knew about being a machine gunner to my friends around me. And because they knew I wanted to be the machine gunner so bad, they let me do the final exercise with the PKM. Can he keep up? Can he patrol with it? Can he hike with it? And I pushed through the pain. I did my job, and I did it very successfully. And I became the machine gunner, the person who had the most firepower in our squad. So that was awesome. I've mentioned this in other videos before, but completing the FPV cell in Ukraine. Having you guys have my back, funding our team, supporting us as we're trying to make these FPVs work in Ukraine, it was awesome. Being able to spread the knowledge and teach my team about not only the FPVs, but also how the Russians might be using FPVs. With the technologies that we had to learn, not only soldering and radio frequencies and how to fly, but also how to go and pick up video signal, allowed our team to go and be more prepared on the battlefield, to know how to use the technologies to detect the drones in order to find the video and see what they're targeting. This is all stuff that we learned during the process of making this FPV cell work. It paid off in different ways, and that was very encouraging for me. Being told I was going to be one of the guys staying at the base when an attack was happening. I mentioned this in one of the videos in the past, but in Iraq, we had a lot of times when invasions were potentially going to happen. So myself as the new guy in the squad, within 3 days of being in Iraq, they trusted me enough to bring me up to the operations base. And that was really neat for me, knowing that these people, they looked at me, they knew my experiences, and they knew what I was about, and they trusted me right from the get-go. That's all I can ask for, and I didn't fail in that. I stood my ground. I worked on the positions. I made sure everybody was prepared, and I did my job as a soldier. I didn't butt heads. I didn't talk back to the leader. I did my job. And speaking on that, at the end of my time in Iraq, we were sitting down with the Kurds one night, and we were kind of having a deep talk because they knew that we were on our way back. And the Kurds looked at me and they said, "Rody, You are one of the good guys. You're one of the good foreigners. And there's a lot of foreigners that came through. They appreciated us all. They knew that we were there for good reasons. But there was a lot of complications that some foreigners had with dealing with the Kurds. I was not one of those guys, and the Kurds knew it, and they loved me. And I really miss them even to this day. I really wish that I could have their number had phones not been banned in the YPG or YBS. Just knowing that they knew that I cared about them, and I cared about this war and this fight, and this revolution that they're going through, and that I performed my task well, and I wasn't a bad foreigner like I was in Syria. That was very encouraging. I learned from my lessons, and I pushed through, and they appreciated me. That's all I wanted. Getting revenge in Ukraine for my friends who were killed. Anybody in war knows friends of theirs that were killed. I have too many to count. So to take part in the elimination of 10 Russians on my first mission with Veron CSG was incredible. I was doing drone reconnaissance. I find them and everybody else does the rest of the work. But to take part in that, I felt incredible after my first mission. Knowing that I actually got to do something on the battlefield that had a tangible result in front of my eyes, and then also knowing that that revenge that I wanted so badly. I said that right from the get-go, right when I got to Ukraine, even before I joined the unit, that I want revenge. I want to avenge these guys. And I was able to do that. There's nothing like it. That was a tough way to deal with this trauma that I had been through. You know, all of us go through trauma, but the trauma that I had was being back home when my friends are still there fighting and dying. To be able to go back there, do the job, make a tangible difference, and avenge some of the guys, that was my way of dealing with that trauma, and it worked. I feel good about that, and you know, the fight will never be done until the war is over, but I was at least able to get a little bit of comfort in knowing that I did as much as I could. Shooting down that drone. You guys know the story, made a whole video about it, but shooting down the drone, first time I fired my rifle, I'm proud about it. You know, like all the training, all the rounds I've fired through my rifle to finally be able to shoot at a real target and shoot it effectively, that's awesome. It feels great. I'm proud of that. Getting a recognition medal from my unit in Ukraine for the job that I did making FPVs. I don't know how to put it. I was not expecting that. I know that a lot of the foreigners get them just for their actions as a foreigner inside this TDF unit. We're not part of the International Legion. We're just in this small-time Ukrainian unit, and we trusted them, and they trusted us to go in there and actually help. So to have my work back in the rear be recognized was really cool. Every other week, our commander from the unit would stop by. He would check up on us. How are the FPVs coming? We would show him the results, and he would say, hey, can you change this on it? And it would be a big thing that maybe he doesn't understand how much work that goes into it, but I would always tell him, no problem, we'll make our drones do that instead. And we did. And the end result was our recognition for benefiting our unit in the way that our commanders deemed the best way. And that was really neat. So I'm proud to have that little medal. I haven't picked it up yet. When I'm back in Ukraine, I'll be able to. But I'll definitely be carrying on some more work there as well to get recognition for something that was done in the rear, in the safe areas. That's pretty cool for me. I thought that all the glory was in the front line, but it's not. There's some glory to be had back in the rear as well. So I feel pretty happy about that. The next one, I have to mention the channel. Having the channel, getting us all together, meeting amazing people, funding thousands of dollars to people that I care about, people that you care about. It's incredible. It's not just me. I'm not even doing the majority of it. You guys are. You guys are funding these people that are injured, funding them so they can buy more stuff. You're funding our FPV cell. Without you guys, FPV cell wouldn't have existed. Had it not existed, I wouldn't have been recognized by my unit for doing a bang-up job with FPVs. You guys deserve all the medals. You guys deserve a lot of the recognition that I get here in the Ukraine. So I want to mention that. The next moment I feel proud about was in Ukraine, digging that second day. If you guys remember in that video where I shot down that drone, the first day of digging, we were bombarded, and it was a close call, somewhat. Well, the second day, I went back. That felt pretty cool because I had left the front line in order to make FPVs. I was a little fearful of going to the front line anymore. I wanted to kind of stay in the rear and help out in different ways. So to go digging not once but twice the day after we got bombarded, that made me know that I still had it. I still was able to control that fear and help out my team when they needed it most. And that felt cool. It was a little bit. You know, it was 2 days. Guys had been out there for 2 weeks. It wasn't like I was carrying the whole team. I just helped out in the way that I could. But I pushed through my fear and I helped out. And I was able to shoot down a drone that next day. I don't know. Being an NLAW gunner. A lot of the missions that I went on at the beginning of the war, I was the NLAW gunner. The person that people trusted to take out tanks that could definitely disrupt a recon mission. So this was a specialty role, which means that you have to be given an extraordinary amount of trust by your team or by your leaders in order to do that job. And they trusted me with that. I didn't have to take out a tank. Arnie did. Arnie did a great job with an NLAW, but to be trusted with that specialty role was cool. Every job is important, no matter if it's a rifleman, point man, drone operator, person training people in the rear, it doesn't matter. Every job is important, but a job like that, I felt like it was very important at that time, and to be trusted with that, I feel really good. The next one is helping demine. This was, nothing crazy. It's not like I'm a full-time EOD expert, but when I came back to Ukraine that second time after we had planted those mines, and that area was liberated during the Kharkiv offensive, I wanted to check up on those mines. And I found out in the winter that they're still there. So I brought a couple friends with me, and we went out there, and we marked it all up with tape. And when the summer came, we ended up digging those mines up and taking them with us and using them as training aids, and just being able to make the area a little bit safer, knowing that I didn't just forget the mines like my command did. I went back there like my team wanted, and I dug those mines up. I dug up our problems. I dug up the potential family that runs over that mine. And again, I was the one who planted those mines. It was a mission. The command forgot about it. It's not like I'm a hero, but I feel proud that I was able to dig those things up and not forget about it. Know that the civilian population is a little bit safer. The blame could have been put on somebody else, but I confronted my fears, dug up the mines, and got out of the way. I'll know for the rest of my life knowing that a family isn't going to be running over that dirt road and getting killed because of me. I cleaned up my mess, and I am proud of that. The next thing I'm proud about was in Iraq, when I am the squad leader. I had never been in a leadership position prior to this, and to be the squad leader was a big ask in Iraq. It was a big ask. And the majority of the time, I was the team leader of the operations base. But nonetheless, no casualties whatsoever under my command. I'm proud of that. I made sure that everybody was safe. I value my team's safety, and the end result is everybody's able to get back to their friends and family back home. And that was cool. I'm proud of that. I did my job, and I think my team should be proud as well for not falling into complacency, for doing their job and listening under my instructions, which oftentimes I didn't know what to do, but I still gave a command, and the general order of things, how things should be in a military structure, stood under my command. And yeah. And the last one is cross-training people on different weapon systems, not only as an instructor, but also in my units. I've learned pretty much every weapon system there is, small arms wise, from the Russians, NATO. I know how to use them all. And because of that, I was able to train a lot of people on the PKM, or the Dushka, or the KBV, or whatever it is, the AK. Learning about these Russian systems back in Iraq and Syria helped me teach the guys who are doing foreign fighting for the first time in Ukraine on these weapon systems. And the moment that comes to mind that I'm most proud of when it comes to this is in Iraq, when we were learning how to go and disassemble and assemble all the heavy weapons. We had to hone our skills so much that we could disassemble and assemble all the different Dushkas and KPVs there are blindfolded. And I did it the fastest. I was the fastest person to disassemble and assemble the KPV out of our entire class, which was dope. That was something I'm proud of. All the people knowing this guy takes his job seriously. And what was the end result? I'm the Dushka gunner and the team leader up in the operations base. And I'll stop the stories here. It's fun to look back at the good times. There's a lot of negative times. There's a lot of times where we can learn from things, but to take a step back and look at your life, look at the moments where you had to stress yourself and you did the right choice, or you made yourself proud. I think it's good. I think it's good to look back at this. Not get super drawn into it. I don't think just about the good times, obviously. You guys know my channel, but it is a healthy thing to look back and know when you succeeded. And these are some of the times I succeeded. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.